The smell of garlic and onions filled the kitchen, and I hummed to myself, stirring the pot on the stove. At 6 months pregnant, I was used to the way my body felt these days, slower, a little more tired, but excited for the little life growing inside me. My husband, Ethan, had been quieter than usual, but I chalked it up to his stressful work as a tech millionaire. He was always busy. I had learned to be patient with his long hours, knowing his success was important to both of us. We had been married for 2 years and life was good. At least that's what I told myself every day. Ethan had been deaf since birth, but I didn't mind. I loved him with all my heart, and I had learned to communicate with him in sign language. I had even quit my career to support him, to help him with his business. Everything seemed perfect. Then one evening, while I was preparing dinner in the kitchen, everything changed. Ethan walked in, looking serious. There was something in his eyes that I couldn't quite read, but I didn't think much of it. I turned to him, smiling, when he suddenly spoke. "I'm not deaf, I never was." The words hit me like a thunderclap. I froze, unable to move or speak. My heart raced in my chest. What was he saying? Was he joking? No, this wasn't a joke. I could see the sincerity in his face, and that made it worse. My mind was swirling, my thoughts tumbling over each other like a storm I couldn't control. For a moment I didn't know what to say. My mouth opened and closed, but no sound came out. I wanted to ask, why? Why would you lie to me like this? But the question stuck in my throat, too painful to ask. I swallowed hard, finally managing to whisper, "Why?" Ethan's eyes flickered with something like regret, but it wasn't enough. It wasn't enough to erase the shock. It wasn't enough to make the truth go away. "I had to," he said softly. "I thought you wouldn't love me if you knew the truth. I was scared." I stood there in the middle of our kitchen, my hands trembling as I slowly put the spoon down. The room felt suddenly colder. My world, which had always felt so sure, was crumbling around me. This was the man I had married, the man I had trusted, the man who had been hiding something so huge, so important from me for our entire relationship. And now, standing there in the kitchen, I realized everything had been a lie. I couldn't move, I couldn't think, I needed answers, and I needed them now. But as I opened my mouth to speak, Ethan took a step closer, his face full of regret. "I'm sorry," he whispered. "I didn't want to hurt you, but I had no choice." I felt the world closing in on me. What was I supposed to do now? What was I supposed to believe? My mind raced with questions, questions I couldn't even ask out loud. All I could do was stand there, staring at Ethan, my husband, the man who had changed my life forever, for all the wrong reasons. Now everything I thought I knew about him was in question. How had he kept this secret for so long? Why had he gone so far to hide the truth? And more importantly, what was I supposed to do now that I knew? But I wasn't ready to hear his explanation. Not yet. I needed space. I needed time to think. So I turned and walked away, heading for the living room, my heart heavy with disbelief. But Ethan didn't follow me. He stayed there in the kitchen, silent. I sat down on the couch, my hands clutching my stomach. The baby inside me kicked, but it didn't bring the comfort it usually did. My mind was too consumed with the truth Ethan had just revealed. I spent the rest of the evening in silence, sitting on the couch, staring at the wall as if it could provide me with the answers I needed. I could feel the weight of Ethan's words pressing on me, making it hard to breathe. He wasn't deaf. He never was. The words echoed in my head, each time louder, more painful than the last. I couldn't even look at him. I was angry, confused, betrayed. But I couldn't shake the feeling that there was something more to the story. Ethan didn't seem like the kind of person who would lie to me for no reason. He had always been so open with me, always so trustworthy. So why had he kept this secret? I could hear him moving around in the kitchen, cleaning up after dinner, but I didn't want to speak to him yet. I needed time. Time to figure out what I was feeling, what I was supposed to do next. But as I sat there, I realized I couldn't just let this go. I couldn't let him get away with this lie. The truth was, I felt like everything I had built with him was based on a lie. All those nights we spent together, laughing and talking about our future, about the family we were going to build, it had all been a lie. I had trusted him. I had given up everything for him, including my career, and now I was left wondering if I had made a mistake. The next morning I woke up to an empty house. Ethan had already left for work, and I felt a pang of loneliness in my chest. I wasn't used to being alone in our big house. It felt strange, almost unsettling. I walked into the kitchen, my stomach still heavy with the thoughts of last night. I had always imagined that when I found out the truth, it would be because Ethan wanted to tell me something important, something that would bring us closer together. But instead, it felt like I was drowning in his lies. The betrayal was so deep, it was hard to breathe. I grabbed my phone and called my mom. She picked up on the first ring and I could hear the concern in her voice. "Honey, are you okay? You sound upset." I took a deep breath, trying to steady my voice. "Mom, something happened. Ethan, he's not deaf, he never was." There was a pause on the other end of the line before she spoke. What do you mean, are you sure?" "I'm sure, Mom. He told me last night. He said he lied because he was afraid I wouldn't love him if I knew the truth." My voice cracked as I said the words, and I could feel the tears welling up in my eyes. "Oh, honey, I'm so sorry. That must be so hard. But you need to talk to him to get the full story. There's got to be more to this. He wouldn't have kept it from you for so long unless there was something he was protecting." I wiped my eyes, feeling the tears starting to fall. I don't know if I can trust him anymore." My mom sighed. "I understand, sweetie, but don't make any decisions in the heat of the moment. Take some time, think about what you want, and remember you're not alone in this." I nodded even though she couldn't see me. "Thanks, Mom, I just don't know what to do." She paused for a moment. "You're a strong woman, sweetheart, you'll figure it out. Just take care of yourself and that baby, and don't let fear or anger make decisions for you." I hung up the phone and sat in silence, staring at the empty kitchen. My mind was a whirlwind of emotions. I didn't know what to believe anymore. But one thing was certain, I needed to confront Ethan, I needed answers. The days that followed were filled with tension. Ethan came home late every night, always with some excuse about work. I didn't say much to him, just nodded when he spoke and went about my day. I couldn't look at him without feeling that sick feeling in my stomach. How could he do this to me? How could he lie for so long? Finally, after 3 days of silence between us, I couldn't take it anymore. I had to know the truth, even if it was painful. It was a Sunday afternoon when I decided to confront him. I had just finished taking a walk in the park, trying to clear my head, when I saw him sitting in the living room, his eyes glued to his phone. He looked up when I walked in, and for a moment we just stared at each other. "I need to talk to you," I said, my voice shaky but determined. Ethan set his phone down and stood up. "Okay, let's talk." I took a deep breath, gathering my thoughts. "Why did you lie to me? Why didn't you tell me the truth?" He looked at me, his eyes full of regret. "I didn't know how. I didn't want you to think I was weak." I felt a surge of anger rise in me. "You think I would have left you because you weren't deaf? You think I would have cared? You lied to me, Ethan. You lied for 2 years and I gave up everything for you. I gave up my career, my life, and now I find out it was all based on a lie." "I'm sorry," he whispered. "I didn't know how to tell you. I thought you'd leave me. I thought you'd think I wasn't good enough for you." I shook my head. "You never gave me a chance to love you for who you really are. You kept me in the dark, and now I don't know who you are anymore." Ethan stepped forward, reaching out for my hand, but I pulled away. "I can't do this, Ethan. I can't keep pretending that everything is okay when I feel like I've been lied to for so long." "I love you," he said, his voice breaking. "Please don't leave me. I didn't mean to hurt you." But the damage had been done. I could see it in his eyes, the desperation, the fear of losing me. But I couldn't ignore what had happened. I couldn't ignore the lies. "I need space, Ethan," I said softly. "I don't know what to believe anymore. I need time to think." He nodded, his face full of pain. "I understand, but please don't leave me." The days after our conversation were strange. I felt like I was walking through a fog, my mind clouded with confusion, anger, and sadness. Every time I looked at Ethan, I saw the man I thought I knew, but now all I could think about were the lies. The walls in our home seemed to close in around me, suffocating me with every glance, every word he said. And yet, even as the pain grew, there was a small part of me that wanted to believe he was still the man I had married. I spent most of my time at the park, walking for hours with my thoughts. The cool air helped clear my head a little, but it didn't erase the knot in my stomach. Every time I returned home, I was met with silence. Ethan stayed in his office, working late, only coming out for quick meals before retreating back into the quiet of his space. He respected my need for space, but that respect only made things feel colder. I needed answers, but he was giving me none. One afternoon, while I was sitting on the couch, I stared at the framed photo of the two of us on our wedding day. Ethan had looked so happy that day, his eyes sparkling as he held me close. I had thought we were building a life together, a life based on trust. but now that picture seemed so distant, like it belonged to someone else's life. I reached for my phone and dialed my mom. It was time to talk. She'd been patient, but I needed to hear her voice again. I needed someone to ground me. "Hey, sweetie," my mom said warmly when she picked up. "How are you doing?" I sighed deeply, trying to find the words. "I don't know, Mom, I really don't know." "You still upset about what Ethan told you?" she asked softly, and I could hear the concern in her voice. I nodded, even though she couldn't see me. "It's just so hard to believe. I thought I knew him. I thought we had this amazing connection, and now it feels like everything was based on a lie." She paused for a moment. "You know, sweetie, I can't tell you what to do, but you have to decide what's best for you. Do you still love him? Do you think you can forgive him?" I squeezed my eyes shut, feeling tears threaten to fall. "I don't know. I thought I could trust him, and now I don't know who he is anymore." Love isn't just about the good times. It's about the bad times too. But you don't have to stay with him if you don't want to. You don't have to forgive him just because he's sorry. But if you love him, you have to be honest with yourself about what you want. I wiped my eyes, my voice shaky. "I just want everything to go back to how it was. I want to trust him again, but I don't know if I can." "Take your time, honey, don't rush into anything. You need to figure out what's best for you, and that little one inside you." I nodded, taking in her words. "Thanks, Mom, I needed to hear that." "I'm always here for you," she said, and I could hear her smile in her voice. "Take care of yourself, okay?" After hanging up, I sat in silence for a while, trying to make sense of everything. The decision weighed heavily on me. Ethan had made a huge mistake, but did that mean I had to walk away from everything we'd built together? I wasn't sure what the right answer was. But one thing was clear: I had to stop running from the truth. I needed to face it head on. A few days later, I decided to confront Ethan again. I couldn't keep avoiding him, couldn't keep pretending everything was fine. I needed to understand why he'd done what he did. I needed closure, even if it meant facing more pain. I waited for him to come home that evening. When he finally walked in, he looked exhausted, his shoulders slumped as if the weight of the world was on them. I could tell he had been waiting for me to make the next move to break the silence, but I wasn't ready to make small talk. I had too many questions. "Ethan, we need to talk," I said, my voice firm but shaky. He looked at me, his face tired but hopeful. "I know, I've been waiting for you to tell me what you need." I gestured for him to sit down across from me. "I just don't understand. Why didn't you tell me the truth from the beginning?" He sighed, rubbing his face with his hands as if the weight of the lie was too much for him to bear. "I didn't know how. I was afraid. I thought you would think I was less of a person. I thought you wouldn't love me the way you did if you knew." "But that's not true," I said, shaking my head. "I love you, Ethan. I loved you before and I still do now. I just don't understand why you felt like you had to hide this from me." He looked at me with pain in his eyes. "I thought if you knew the truth, it would make things complicated. I didn't want to be seen as someone who needed pity. I didn't want you to feel sorry for me. I wanted you to love me for who I am, not for some disability that I thought defined me." I stared at him, my heart aching for him, but also angry at how he had treated me. "Ethan, I don't care about your hearing, I care about you, but you lied to me. You kept me in the dark for so long and now I don't know what to believe." "I know, and I'm so sorry," he said, his voice breaking. "I never wanted to hurt you. I didn't know how to be honest. I was scared." His words broke through the wall I had been building in my heart. I could see how much he regretted his actions, but the damage was done. I still didn't know if I could trust him again. "I need time," I said, my voice softening. "I need time to think. I can't keep living like this, Ethan." He nodded, his face full of sorrow. "I understand. I'll give you all the time you need, but please know that I love you and I'll be here when you're ready to talk." I felt a tear slip down my cheek, but I wiped it away quickly. I need to figure things out." That night, as I lay in bed, I thought about everything. Ethan's confession had shaken me to the core. But deep down, I knew that if I didn't face this head on, I would never be able to move forward. I needed to understand why he did it, why he felt like he couldn't trust me with the truth. And most of all, I needed to figure out if I could trust him again. The next few days were filled with emotional highs and lows. Some moments I felt like I was closer to understanding him, and others I felt like I was farther away than ever. But I knew one thing for sure: whatever happened, I couldn't keep living in this limbo. The next few days passed in a blur of uncertainty and raw emotions. I moved through my days like a ghost, my mind constantly swirling with thoughts of Ethan's confession. Every time I saw him, I felt a mixture of anger and sadness, but there was also a part of me that still loved him. I couldn't deny it. The feelings I had for him were still there, buried under the layers of betrayal, but they were still there. Ethan respected my need for space, keeping his distance most of the time. But every now and then he would reach out to me, a simple gesture or a soft word, trying to bridge the gap that had suddenly appeared between us. It wasn't enough, though. Not yet. I needed more than just his apologies. I needed him to show me that he understood the gravity of what he had done, that he truly understood how deeply he had hurt me. I spent my days thinking. I walked in the park, sat in quiet cafes, and spent hours writing in my journal. Every time I wrote, I tried to piece together the puzzle that was my life with Ethan. I had always thought we were building something beautiful. We had talked about having a family, raising children together, creating a future. But now all of that seemed uncertain. Was it all just a dream? One evening, as I sat by the window, the soft glow of the streetlights filtering in, I heard Ethan's footsteps in the hall. He hesitated before he knocked on the door of the room I had claimed as my own since the argument. I didn't answer right away. Part of me wanted to ignore him, to keep hiding from the pain he had caused. But the other part of me, the part that still loved him, knew that if I didn't face this, we would never move forward. "Can we talk?" His voice was soft, almost tentative. I took a deep breath, wiping my eyes quickly before opening the door. Ethan stood there, his face lined with concern. His eyes searched mine, waiting for permission to enter. I stepped aside, silently inviting him in. He didn't sit down right away. Instead, he looked at me, his shoulders slumped as if he was carrying a weight I couldn't see. I could tell he was struggling, unsure of how to fix things. His guilt was written all over his face. "I know I've hurt you and I can't take that back. I can't change what I did," he started, his voice shaky. "But I need you to know that I didn't do it because I didn't love you. I did it because I was afraid. I was afraid you wouldn't accept me for who I really am." I felt a lump form in my throat as I listened to him. It wasn't the first time he had said this, but hearing him say it again made something inside me stir. "Ethan, you don't understand. I didn't care about whether you were deaf or not. I didn't care if you had some perfect image of yourself that you wanted me to see. What hurt was that you didn't trust me enough to be honest with me. What hurt was that you thought I wouldn't love you unless you lied." His face softened and he stepped closer to me. I know I was wrong, but I didn't want to lose you. I thought if I told you the truth, you'd leave me. I thought you would think I was weak." I shook my head, my voice trembling as I spoke. "But that's not the truth, Ethan. You never gave me the chance to decide. You kept me in the dark, and now I don't know what to believe. What if everything we've shared was built on lies? What if this whole time I've been loving someone who wasn't real?" He reached out to touch my hand, and for a moment I let him. I wanted to believe that he was still the man I had married, the man I had loved. But in that moment, I felt like I was standing on a cliff, unsure of whether I should take a step back or move forward. "I understand why you're upset," Ethan said softly. "I do, and I'm sorry. I don't expect you to forgive me right away, but I need you to know that I want to make things right. I want to be the man you thought I was." Tears welled up in my eyes, and I felt a wave of emotion rush over me. I had never expected this. I had never expected to find myself here, torn between the love I still had for him and the hurt he had caused. "I don't know, Ethan. I don't know if I can forgive you. I don't know if I can trust you again." He looked at me, his eyes filled with pain. "I'll do anything, anything to make this right. Please don't give up on me, don't give up on us." There was a long silence as I stood there, my heart torn in two. I wanted to believe him. I wanted to believe that everything would go back to the way it was. But the truth was, I wasn't sure I could ever look at him the same way again. I wasn't sure I could ever trust him the way I once had. "Ethan, I don't know if I can keep living like this," I whispered, my voice shaking. "I don't know if I can keep pretending that everything's okay when I feel like I'm walking on broken glass every time I look at you." He stepped closer, his voice desperate. "Please, just give me a chance. I swear I'll do anything to make it right. I love you and I don't want to lose you." I looked into his eyes, and for a moment I saw the man I had married, the man I had fallen in love with. But then I remembered the lie. The deception and the years of silence. "I need more time, Ethan. I need to think. I need to understand if I can forgive you. I need to know if I can trust you again." He nodded, his face filled with regret. "I'll give you all the time you need, but please don't walk away." As he left the room, I felt the weight of his words hanging in the air. I had no answers, no easy choices. All I had was time to figure out what to do next, but time was something I wasn't sure we had. The next day I decided to take a break from everything. I needed clarity, something that could help me see past the confusion and pain. I took a long walk in the park, letting the fresh air fill my lungs and clear my mind. I needed to think about what I wanted, what I truly needed. I kept thinking about what my mom had said. You don't have to forgive him just because he's sorry, but if you love him, you have to be honest with yourself about what you want. It was advice I needed to hear, but I still didn't have the answer. I didn't know if I could forgive Ethan. I didn't know if I could ever trust him again. But I had to find out, for my sake, and for the sake of the baby growing inside me. The following weeks were filled with quiet moments of reflection, confusion, and uncertainty. My mind constantly replayed Ethan's confession. I'm not deaf, I never was. No matter how much time passed, those words echoed in my head. I couldn't shake them. I couldn't unhear them. They had become a part of me, a shadow I couldn't escape, and I knew I had to make a decision, one that would determine the future of my marriage, my happiness, and the life I was building. Ethan had given me the space I needed. He didn't push me. He respected my need to process everything, though I could see the pain in his eyes every time I looked at him. He still loved me, I knew that, but love wasn't enough, not anymore. Love wasn't going to erase the lies, wasn't going to fill the hole that had formed between us. I had tried to convince myself that things could go back to normal, that the trust would rebuild over time. But deep down, I knew it wasn't that simple. The foundation of our relationship had cracked, and no matter how much we wanted to fix it, the cracks were still there. The lies were still there. Every day I found myself asking the same question, can I forgive him? I couldn't give him an answer, I couldn't give myself one. It was hard to look at him the way I once did. The person I had married, the person I had loved and built a life with, wasn't who I thought he was, and that hurt more than anything. But then there was the baby. I had to think about the child growing inside me. I had to think about what kind of example I wanted to set, what kind of environment I wanted to raise my child in. Ethan was going to be a father. He deserved a chance to be a part of this family, but did I deserve to be with someone who had lied to me for so long? One evening after dinner, I found myself sitting alone in the living room, my hands resting on my swollen belly. I had spent the entire day avoiding Ethan, not because I didn't want to be with him, but because I didn't know what to say anymore. How could I forgive him when I didn't understand why he did it? How could I trust him when he had lied so convincingly for so long? The sound of the front door opening broke my thoughts. Ethan had come home from work. His footsteps were slow, deliberate, as though he knew I was waiting for him. I looked up when he entered the room, and for a moment neither of us spoke. The tension between us was thick, heavy. Finally he spoke, his voice low. Can we talk? I nodded. I think it's time. He sat across from me, his eyes filled with a mixture of hope and fear. I know I've done something terrible. I know I've hurt you. I can't take back what I did, but I need you to know that I didn't do it because I didn't love you. I did it because I was afraid of losing you, afraid that if you knew the truth, you wouldn't see me the same way. I took a deep breath, holding back the tears that threatened to fall. I understand why you were scared, but that doesn't excuse what you did. You didn't trust me enough to tell me the truth. You thought I wouldn't love you, but you didn't give me the chance to prove that I would. You took away my choice, and that's what hurts the most. Ethan lowered his gaze, his voice breaking. I was selfish. I thought I could control everything, that I could protect you from the truth, but in doing that I hurt you more than I ever could have imagined. I took a moment letting his words sink in. He was remorseful, I could see that, but the pain was still there, the anger was still there, the betrayal was still there. I didn't know if I could move past it. But then I thought about my child, the little one growing inside me, the innocent life that would need both of us, and I realized something. Maybe forgiveness wasn't about forgetting what had happened. Maybe it was about making a choice, not just for me but for the future. I don't know if I can ever trust you the way I did before, I said, my voice trembling. But I know I can't raise this baby alone. I don't want to. I want us to be a family. I want to try, Ethan, but it's going to take time. It's going to take a lot of time. Ethan reached across the table, his hand trembling as he placed it over mine. I'll wait for you no matter how long it takes. I'll do whatever it takes to earn your trust again. I'll be here. I'll prove to you that I'm not the man who lied to you. I'll prove to you that I'm the man you married. I love you. And I love our baby. I looked at him, really looked at him, and I saw the sincerity in his eyes. I didn't know if I could fully forgive him. I didn't know if I could ever forget the pain he had caused. But one thing I did know was that forgiveness wasn't a single moment. It wasn't an instant fix. It was a journey, one I would have to take one step at a time. And maybe, just maybe, Ethan was willing to walk that journey with me. The days that followed were filled with small steps. I started talking to Ethan more, asking him questions about his past, about why he had lied. He answered honestly, slowly but surely, revealing more about his fears and the reasons behind his actions. And with each conversation, I began to feel something shifting inside me. The anger was still there, but it was beginning to fade, replaced by understanding. We went to counseling together. It wasn't easy. There were many difficult conversations, many moments of silence, but slowly we began to rebuild what had been broken. It wasn't perfect, it wasn't fast, but we were working on it, we were trying. And for the first time in weeks, I felt a glimmer of hope. One afternoon, as I sat on the porch, feeling the warmth of the sun on my face, I felt my baby kick. I smiled, placing my hand on my belly. Ethan came up behind me, his arms wrapping around me gently. "How's our little one doing?" "Good," I said softly. "I think they're ready to meet you." Ethan pressed a kiss to the top of my head. "I'm ready to meet them." I turned to him, my heart full of emotion. "I'm still scared, Ethan, but I'm willing to try, for us, for our family." He smiled, his eyes filled with love and relief. "That's all I can ask for." In that moment, I realized that while the road ahead might still be uncertain, it wasn't one I had to walk alone. Together, we would rebuild step by step. And maybe, just maybe, that was enough.